Hi, this is Helen from Jupiter's Realm, and in this video series I'll be covering some basics about astrology. In this first video we'll start with an introduction to what astrology is and what the birth chart represents. When first seeing a birth chart it can look quite confusing. There are a lot of symbols and lines, so I'll be breaking down what these symbols mean during the course of this video. Astrology is the observation and interpretation of the movement of the sun, moon and planets, and some other celestial bodies too, in order to understand and predict patterns and events here on Earth. The basic philosophy of astrology is that there's a correlation between the cyclical movement of the planets in the sky and our lived experiences here on Earth, and for thousands of years humans have noted these correlations. The earliest surviving birth charts date back to the 1st century BC, although evidence of the interest in recording observations of celestial movements and their correlations with events here on Earth go back further than that. There are different branches and systems of astrology, and in this series of videos I'll mainly be focusing on traditional tropical natal astrology, but the basic framework and techniques can be used across the other branches and systems. So the birth chart is a 2D representation of the movement of the sun, moon and the planets in the sky as viewed from our perspective here on Earth, looking south in the northern hemisphere. So we have the eastern horizon on the left, south at the top of the chart, west on the right and north is at the bottom. The chart is a circle divided into 12 segments called places or houses. The first house is always situated on the left, where east is, and the rest follow in numerical order counterclockwise. Around these houses fall the zodiac signs, and the planets will fall in the signs. There are different ways to make these 12 divisions, which is beyond this video, but just for reference I'm using the whole sign house system in the diagrams. Which house a zodiac sign falls on and which planets fall in which signs depends on the time that you're born, and this is used to determine the ascendant point. The ascendant marks the horizon point where planets rise, and the opposite point is the descendant. Now, depending on what house system is used, this axis can mark the beginning of the first house, or it can be within the first house. Two other important points that are calculated are the midheaven, or MC for short, which is the highest point the sun reaches in the sky around noon, and the Imum Coli, or the IC for short, directly opposite the MC, which is the lowest point of the sun's path after it is set, which is around midnight. These 4 points, called angles or pivots, are important points in the chart, and they relate to our identity, public activities, home and private life, and relationships. Now, the zodiac sign that was rising above the eastern horizon at your time of birth is called your rising sign and is assigned to the first house. The other signs will then fall in zodiacal order anti-clockwise around the chart, 1 sign per house, along with the planetary positions for the time of birth. The planets, signs, houses and the angular relationships to each other, called aspects, tell us something about the potential for life themes, patterns and events, past, present and future, and form the basis of astrology. There are other astronomical bodies and points that can be included and used for interpretive purposes such as asteroids, lots and nodes, but I won't be including those in this video just to keep things simple. In traditional astrology, the chart as a whole therefore represents a potential map of life events and experiences from birth to death. Each planet has its own significations and can represent you, other people, and a range of circumstances, qualities, events or actions in your life on a spectrum from positive to challenging, realistically reflecting the nature of life. Each zodiac sign has certain qualities and a planetary ruler. The signs were called the domiciles or abodes of the planets, and the sign, through its qualities of mode, element, and masculine or feminine polarity, can say something about the way in which matters unfold regarding those house topics and the planetary expressions and significations. Each house is associated with a different area of life. For example, the second house is associated with your own finances and assets, while the eighth house, directly opposite to that, is associated with other people's finances and assets. And finally, aspects tell us how the planets are interacting with and influencing each other in the chart. For example, in a way that indicates ease or support to matters, or in a way that indicates challenges or friction. Aspects can be by whole sign or by degree. So the various combinations of sign, house, planet and aspect can reveal a lot of information about how matters in that area of life have the potential to unfold. And what an astrologer does is analyse, synthesise and interpret this data. There are a lot of layers and depths to this analysis, and this has just been a very simple basic introduction to what is presented in the birth chart. But I hope that it's been helpful if you're just getting started in astrology, or if you're going to have a reading with an astrologer but don't know what the birth chart actually represents. So I hope this has been helpful. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon.